Welcome to X-Connect TV. My name is Karim Kanji. Thank you for joining us this week. As always, I want to tell you where you can find us. I hope that you're watching this on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube, of course, at youtube.com/xconnecttv. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel. We're also on the web, xconnectto.com, and on Facebook and Twitter, both xconnectto. And we have a great guest for today, someone that I've been following, I guess, from 2009. And finally get to sit down and chat in front of a camera and talk, but we've chatted many times before. This is Danny Brown, the presently VP of Partner Strategy at Jignu Inc.
How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for coming.
No, thanks. I'd like to say we've sort of floated in and out that often and never really actually sat down and properly talked to each other, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun, and I didn't know you had a British accent.
Yep.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I guess the first thing I want to talk to you about, and I really want to get into what you're doing at Jignu, and you've been really in the social space and marketing for many years, considered an expert. But recently, you have been talking in the various social channels about a company called Klout out of San Francisco. And you've got some opinions about them, and for those people that don't know Klout, they basically take everything that you're doing online in the social sphere and rate you out of 100 and give you a Klout score. And obviously the higher and closer you get to 100, the more influential you are, and of course the lower you are to 0, the less influential you are. And you know, when I go to check your Klout score, you don't have one because you haven't registered on there. But I would assume that if you did, you'd probably have a high number. But you've got some thoughts and opinions on Klout. I'd love for you to share them with me and talk about that a bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't have a Klout account. I did have one because when it first came out, I was really interested as a marketer in the social media space. I was interested to see how influence works and how brands can connect with people that can share a message organically. So I registered, started to investigate it, and then some of the cracks started to appear, and realised that the way they score it's pretty haphazard. I'm an expert on, or when I was on Klout, I was an expert on sheep. Because I wrote,
sheep?
Yeah, I wrote a blog post once about what happens when social media leaders lose their sheep. People start to think for themselves and question social media leaders. The fact that my blog post had sheep in the title got picked up by Klout, and suddenly I was influential in sheep. So that shows the metrics are pretty skewed. The problem with Klout, the idea, the genesis of Klout is a worthwhile one to try identify social influencers or people that have a wider reach that brands can connect with and that people trust in a bigger sphere, if you like. The way they do it isn't so good. I mean, they claim to be the standard for online influence and for influence, full stop. So that takes into account offline influence, etc. And they only measure about 10 or 12 platforms max. So I don't know how you can class someone as an influencer when you're not even looking at likes of Bebo, which is Europe's biggest social network. You're not looking at the Asian market, which is a massive market, obviously. And just the way the system can be gamed. If I can be an expert in sheep, for example, you could be an expert in kilts. By just speaking and tweeting about kilts, you might know nothing about them, but Klout would recognise you as an expert and put you up here as an expert. Brands that want to connect with kilt experts now pay Klout $25,000–$30,000 and upwards to connect with you via a Klout perk, and it doesn't mean anything to that brand. So it's a really weird way, and there's a big question about the privacy. Klout creates the profiles for you. So if you're on Twitter and you have a public Twitter feed, Klout automatically creates a profile for you. You don't have a say in that. They allocate you a score which can impact a job search you're going for, a marketing company or a company that looks at Klout scores as a potential score point for your job application. And it's a non-regulated score. So there's a lot of questions about the legality, the ethics behind the company, the privacy side. They were targeting minors in a recent campaign. Even though the website privacy says they're not interested in minors, they were targeting minors with a recent campaign. So there's all this stuff that's very questionable about how Klout goes about it.
It's interesting that you actually have to opt out rather than opt in. It seems that most platforms are opt in, and so is it Is it something that they have with Twitter, an agreement with Twitter, or how has that worked?
Yeah, we question them all the time on why they can create profiles without people's specific permission. And the Canadian Commission is looking into it at the moment, as is the EU privacy law guys.
Okay.
They're looking into it. They've had a few complaints from bloggers in Europe. Basically, the Klout's reasoning is we're only pulling information that's publicly accessible.
Sure.
Much like a Google searching your name.
Fair enough.
If you're Google. The problem is when you go to Google, you opt into Google by having a blog, by making a public Twitter feed public, by going on Facebook and sharing your posts. You allow Google to search you.
Yeah.
If you don't want that, you can stop Google tracking you by a simple tracking code. Klout doesn't give you that option really. Yes, they allow you to opt out,
Yeah.
but a lot of people aren't even aware they've got a Klout profile.
Sure.
Justin Bieber is the poster child for Klout. They always use that Justin Bieber's got the perfect Klout score of 100. He hasn't even registered his account. He probably doesn't even know about Klout.
Probably doesn't.
And that's why it's
Interesting.
It's just weird, how you have to opt out of something that the reason they're doing it. Say, well, you've got a public Twitter profile, we can pull the feed. But if you go to Twitter's terms of services, you allow them to share information with third parties. That's fine, you understand that.
Sure.
If you're not paying for a product, you essentially are the product. So.
Of course.
But that, for me, that's saying we will sell your information to advertisers that may want to connect with you through sponsored tweets, for example.
Sure.
That doesn't give a company like Klout permission to go and create a fully fledged profile with a score that can impact your professional life.
Yeah, actually, it's one thing to take all these public information. It's another thing to say, you know what, Danny Brown has a Klout influence of 50, and so then when you are looking at your next move career-wise, a potential employer, like I said, I look at that and go, I thought Danny was everything, and he's only got a 50. Let me go talk to so-and-so because they seem to have a higher Klout. They must know more than that. So it's very interesting how they have those things.